Bienvenidos, cinema fans. You got Jaime and Fuego here from Fuegotainment with my co-host
Cecil Laird from The Horror Show.
Hell yeah, man. And we are in the midst of doing some more Crossing the Streams here in the month of October. And yeah, we're pretty stoked to be talking about a family favorite that has made its way to the big screen after in the 90s being, you know, from print to the television screens that I watched. Did you actually get to see the Goosebumps show back when it was on?
I think I watched maybe one episode, but that was about it. But that was kind of nice for me because I went in pretty cold to this. I haven't read any of the Goosebumps books, so it was interesting to jump in with that point of view.
The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena? These are all Goosebumps manuscripts. Why are these books locked?
Did you unlock a book?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'll put it back where it belongs. Look, here it is.
No, don't open it!
Nobody make a sound.
Very much PG, you know, just kind of like family horror at this point, but actually, in my estimation, pretty solid adaptation, although there was a couple things which would, you know, go into the malo territory, but yeah, since this is kind of a horror show and Fuegotainment crossover, we're going to do a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly, the bueno, the malo, and the feo, as I like to describe it. Yeah, man, so I'm actually, since I'm the one who read a ton of the Goosebumps books, I had like the first 50 as a kid, personal favorites being, you know, like Ghost Beach was great, Welcome to the Dead House was awesome, Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. Some of my personal favorites were not referenced in this, regrettably, but I'm going to let you say what you thought was good about it first, since you're a little less familiar with the franchise.
I'll say that the biggest bueno for me on this one is that the movie moved. Like, it got things going pretty quickly. Monsters started showing up about 15-20 minutes in, which is kind of what you need in a movie like this, and it kept going, and we saw more things come, and you know, the story progressed very rapidly. We got to see a lot of effects, and that was fun, not having to wait around for that. Although slightly to the movie's detriment at times. So I'll get into that when we get into the malo. But what about you? What was your boy?
I thought all the monsters looked good. The ones that they actually did bring from the pages, whether it was Jack Black surprisingly voicing the dummy Slappy, which I thought was a cool touch. I didn't notice it at first, but yeah, it was solid, and you know, the gnomes looked cool. I mean, they unfortunately didn't bring to life a lot of the ones that I really wanted to see, but you know, the ones that they did I thought were good, and all, I mean, even the zombies and stuff, which were like a little bit more like, I guess, stereotypical, like you've seen it. I'll save that for my feo, but yeah, I'd say all the creatures looked good, especially for a PG movie. They didn't look cheap. So.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty much the case for the most part as well.
Yeah.
Any other buenos from you?
You know, there was one particular, so a lot of the humor from the adults I thought fell flat, and I'm going to save that for my malo, but I thought the kids were actually funny and performed pretty well, all three of them, and there was one particular twist with regards to a certain character that I thought was really unexpected, and it was a serious bueno.
Yeah.
Don't want to divulge because it's non-spoilers, but...
True, fair enough. And the other bueno for me would be the kid named Champ. He was pretty fun to watch through the movie.
Chump, you mean?
Yeah, Chump. He was the nerdy kid, typical nerdy kid for a movie like this, but, you know, sort of drags kicking and screaming into the whole fracas, but it was fun to watch him, so.
Especially his interplay with Jack Black, I thought was really good.
Yeah. Now, let's move into the malo here, Jaime.
We're going rapid fire here because we're on limited time. We're off to see another movie right after this.
Absolutely. So. The first malo I want to mention is directly related to my bueno, how fast the movie moved. Unfortunately, the movie moving that fast did not leave a lot of room for deep development. No deep diving into characters, no real reason, therefore, to root for them throughout the movie outside of them just being the heroes of the movie.
Yeah, Stein especially. I mean, I guess near the end there was some development for him, and you kind of found a little bit more about his motivation, especially for one character's creation that I can't really divulge more about, but...
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, though, it moved so fast that it didn't leave room for a lot of depth, which always lends to the audience's caring of what's going on in the movie. So while it was sort of fun, it was so surface level that I just didn't really care about a lot of the things that were happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't really care very much about the adults, and this is where I was mentioning the whole humor portion. I thought the kids were funny. I thought a lot of, I mean, at these PG movies, you know that Pixar does it, and Pixar does it well, where they insert the humor into a movie for the adults that are taking the children to see it.
Right.
This one, yeah, some of the, you know, is he single? Is he maybe going through divorce and needs a push? Like some of the jokes were just like, I don't even know if the parents would find them funny. They were just really forced and kind of dumb.
Very forced.
Yeah, the aunt was just, her character was
The aunt was too much, Aunt Lorraine or whatever. And one of the molos I had was when there was like a hint towards deeper stuff, they would veer sharply away from it. Like our main character, this gentleman's mother, apparently she had an admirer of sorts at this new school, and
he's a funny guy.
It was Ken Marino.
Wet Hot.
Yeah.
Ken Marino's great.
Yeah, he's hilarious, but he was barely explored. That whole dynamic wasn't explored. It was just sort of hinted at, and when there's no payoff and no setup, it just seems weird. It seems weird to include it at all, but you know. So yeah, that was the other malo for me.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there was a little bit of malo. I mean, it wasn't a scary film, at least by our standards.
Right,
obviously.
for sure not.
But I mean, I heard some kids talking about it afterwards when we went to the facilities, and they're like, that Slappy was creepy and blah blah blah. So I mean, hey, if it's effective on kids, I guess at the end of the day.
I mean, that's the audience. You know what I mean? It's not made for us. It's made for them.
But this is what ties into my Feo is that. There was some funny references to my favorite author, Mr. Stephen King.
Yes.
And the thing that I thought was like ugly and kind of funny about it all is that R.L. Stein is not very original. Pretty much all of his books are like kiddie takes on properties we've seen other people do.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, the ones that I liked the best were the ones that mimicked nothing. You know, I mean, like the Piano Lessons Can Be Murder that I referenced, or even like Welcome to the Dead House, the very first book. You know, those were ones that didn't really have these affiliations. Like you saw this poor man's Pennywise roaming around at one point. You saw this
Poor man's Christine.
Yeah, Poor Man's Christine, the Hell Car, and then you also saw, this slime that looked straight out of The Blob, which I've said on the horror show countless times is my favorite horror movie. Over the last few years, it's become my favorite horror movie. Jack Black gets encompassed in this stuff, and it doesn't really do much to him. So, I mean, yeah, that's definitely my fave, is the fact that as much as I liked the Goosebumps books as a kid, as I grew older and started to realize, he was just biting on a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. My fails, I'll go quick with them. There was two, basically, and one is something that you mentioned in your Bueno. I did not like that Jack Black voiced Slappy the dummy, because it just brought me out of it. It sounded like R.L. Stein was talking through the dummy. And
he created him, right?
But he was the only one. I mean, unless he voiced all the snarls of the werewolf and all the tick-tick-ticks of the mantis, Hey,
maybe JB did. Shout out Tenacious D.
Maybe, but it was distracting for me. They should have gotten someone else, in my opinion. The other fail, I should say, is the fact that while there were tons of creatures in the movie, there were really only about 4, maybe 5 that got any sort of substantial screen time. Everything else was just in quick sweeping shots or the crowd shots. They didn't get, you mentioned the clown.
They were trying to go for as many references to all of these books that he's written as possible.
But references only in the visual aspect. There were only visual references. I don't know if any of the things that they actually did referenced what they might have done in the books. It was just them on camera, and that wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see more of them, or more of their personalities. And granted, it's a lot to cram into one movie, but it just wasn't enough for me. So that ended up being a bit of a fail for me.
Totally, yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, not a perfect film, but an entertaining film at the end of the day. I'd say that I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, ultimately, I give it, I'd give it maybe 3 out of 5 for kids. For adults, probably 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
That would be about how I would assess it.
I still kind of wish that they would have just adopted an anthology type take. I mean,
I think that would have been better.
When this film was first announced, that's what I was hoping for, that they would have tackled a few of the stories, and then they could have made it into a lengthy series, where, hey, adapt 3 or 4 of the stories each movie and just keep it rolling like that, like almost like a Tales from the Crypt for the kids.
Well, and as I mentioned to Fuego, this would be pretty much a good jumping on point if at this point they wanted to then move to a TV series and have all these monsters that appeared in this one by one start appearing again and taking on stories that way.
Give them the attention that
they deserve.
Yeah,
exactly. That would be my hope for it. I doubt it's going to happen that way, but
I guess we'll see how the box office performs on it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but in any event, I guess we'll wrap it up there since we have so much more to cover here. I've been Jaime and Fuego. You can find me at Jaime and Fuego on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Until next time, Cinemigos, stay scared.